YouTube. We are hitting legs today, just getting leaner and leaner. And so just trying to carve out a little bit more in the midsection. This will be a good one. Getting the quads warmed up, starting off with just back squats. That's going to be the main movement today. So starting off really light with those. Just trying to go slow, smooth tempos, kind of grease the groove a little bit. We'll get some pendulum squats as well to really get the knees warmed up. Knees feel good. Just trying to go higher reps today. Working to some heavier weight later in the week for leg day number 2. The hamstring curls right now are really just to get more volume in the hamstrings between my squat sets. I don't want to really do anything quad related or anything like that. That's going to maybe take away from the volume that I can get with the back squats. So trying to get some extra volume in the hamstrings on a leg day, and then I'll come back and do more deliberate sets, focusing on just crushing the hamstrings. Right now I'm trying to just get them active so the squat feels more stable at the very bottom. Hamstring curls in between the squats are just a really kind of sneaky way, I guess, a way for me to be able to get some extra volume in the hamstrings without taking away from the squats. If anything, actually activating the hamstrings between sets probably is giving me a better sensation and better activation during the squat set. Sometimes by activating the antagonist muscle group, the protagonist group, so quads in this case, will fire better and recover faster in between sets. So I like to think about it as activate the quads, get them feeling really good, a lot of blood flow, and then go stimulate the opposite muscle group with the hamstrings, come back, squat again, feel better, feel stronger, and get extra volume on the hamstrings in between the time where I would just be resting anyways. Starting to work up in weight, set after set with the hamstrings, shifting more and more focus, trying to kind of go away from warming the hamstrings up to now actually loading the hamstrings. Reps will be a little bit slower, one because of weight, but also that's kind of my intention, is to be a little bit more deliberate, challenge myself a little bit more in the bottom position where it's a little bit weaker, but keep tension. So Focusing on time under tension. Didn't get the reps maybe that I wanted, but every single one was high quality. And that's all I need, really. We get a lot of quad volume elsewhere. When doing hamstring curls, especially in the seated position, the only thing I'm really focused on, feeling in the hamstrings the entire time and keeping it out of the lower back as much as possible. So I'm really just maintaining constant tension in the hamstrings, even if that means I'm sacrificing a little bit of range of motion. Luckily, with the Prime Fitness machines and the smart cams, I can kind of change the strength curve to ensure that it's harder when I'm stronger, a little easier when I'm weaker, kind of giving you like an artificial spotter. The machine naturally just kind of has a way to do that for you because the cam is not a perfect circle. It's kind of like an oblong shape, and so that belt has to travel a little bit more, I guess, with a little bit more resistance in certain phases than others, depending on the settings that you have it. So because your hamstrings naturally in this movement are going to be strong at the top, strong in the middle, and then weaker and weaker as you get your joint angle closed, as you bend your knee more, it's important to try and kind of maximize the technology that this machine provides. One of the most villainized machines in the gym, and I'll never know why. Well, stupidity is really why, ignorance is why. This machine and this specific movement, there's no other real way to better isolate the adductors and really load them in a isolatory fashion. And so men, women, whatever you are, you need to be using the adductor machine. Whether you want thicker legs, stronger squat, stronger deadlift, less back pain, less knee pain, honestly, the adductors, heavily underutilized by most people in the gym. One of the most important things that I've seen people neglect. But to stabilize your spine, to feel better, just in general, you have to have a strong pelvis, and you have to be able to adduct those legs to maintain proper pelvic alignment. So if your glutes are really strong, hamstrings are really strong, quads are really strong, but your adductors are really weak, you're gonna have issues. Your back's gonna probably hurt. Your knees are gonna have issues. You're gonna have trouble stabilizing in any kind of lateral fashion. You might have a lot more valgus collapse, or your knees caving in during your squats or your deadlifts. And all of that really leads to a lot of imbalance. So just spread your legs and get to work. Also, little tip, the adductor machine can help you last longer in bed. This will teach you how to hold it. Last a long time. The gluteator. I'm not sure how many of these are out there. The guy who invented this is local here in Dallas, and I'm sure he's probably made a couple hundred, if not maybe thousands. But great machine. If you can ever come across one, definitely include it in your glute program. Great for developing outer glute, a little bit more width, still getting some glute because there's a minor degree of hip extension in there, kind of like a glute kickback, so kind of like really low glute ham tie-in, as some would say. The glute pump is wild. I didn't honestly think that that superset was going to be as difficult as it was. Leg extensions, heavy to failure, and then just partial rep pendulum squats. It just burns. Keep it going though. The hard part about this is you don't want to go all the way up and get that full quad contraction, because honestly it just gives you too much of a break. So try to get really, really deep where that VMO is going to be kind of like the only muscle firing down there at the very bottom. Push through that VMO, develop that teardrop, and then as you extend a little bit more past kind of like completely closed to maybe about 15 degrees, those other quad muscles will start kicking in, but just never get full hip extension. Keep the knees slightly bent the whole time and just keep it in the quad the entire time. Come on. Legs are toast. Cardio's being challenged with all those lunges and sleds. Ab time, and then we're done. When it comes to the recommendation of should you be training core or should you be training abs, are you worried about having a thicker midsection, all of those things, you're really not going to know until you get lean. So instead of, picking up the yoga ball, put down the fork, lose some weight, then see what your midsection looks like. If you still have a pretty narrow waist, but have maybe lacking development, or you're really lean, but don't see your abs, you probably just don't have enough muscle, honestly. So I wouldn't worry about getting too bulky. It is hard to do, even with the abs. The only reason I'm more worried about it is because I powerlifted for 7 or 8 years. So with that, I'm kind of more prone to having a more thicker, wider midsection. I tend to focus more on core training in kind of the 8 to 12 rep range, usually not going over 12 reps, sometimes not even going over 5 or 6 reps, and just keeping tension the whole time. I know people will say is typically the hypertrophy phase, the hypertrophy rep range of 8 to 12 repetitions, but the abs are such a high endurance muscle, they do take a little bit higher repetitions, higher stimulus to actually grow. So instead of trying to do 100 crunches every single day, maybe do 30 total reps of heavier weight, heavier load, build strength in those abs, build some lean muscle. You'll be a lot safer that way and be able to probably maintain a more narrow midsection. That is just one of the main recommendations. There's a lot of other factors that go into play in terms of muscle length, the elasticity of that muscle and its ability to stretch. For example, if you've been female and have been pregnant, it's one thing to consider. The elasticity of your abdominal wall might change. You might be more likely to protrude through histories of diastasis or other conditions that happen post-pregnancy. So a lot of considerations to think about, but for the most part, I don't think most people should be avoiding training their abs. Just train your abs more intelligently and you'll be okay. Time to eat. Nice solid leg day. A lot of squats, a lot of working sets of squats. Just felt really good. The only change I really made was instead of doing back squats and front squats, back squats felt really good today, so I kind of took advantage of that. Sometimes you just got to ride the wave when you're feeling really good. Certain things, just make sure you're not taking away from future training sessions. Don't do too much just because you feel really, really good if it's going to mean 3 days later when you train that muscle group again, that you feel like shit. So knowing your limits, knowing how your whole workout plan should be structured. I know, for example, today my primary movement for legs is going to be a back squat, and I know on Thursday my primary movement was going to be a front squat. So I just kind of stuck to back squats today, and I'll just really hammer front squats on Thursday. So overall, really good. Conditioning is going really well, incorporating the prowlers and the walking lunges towards the end of the sessions to kind of help with some of the muscular endurance, recovery rate in between squats, and really just making sure I'm warming up, being really diligent about making sure my knees feel really good before starting to add a lot of load. My main focus when it comes to warming up and the whole workout in general is perfect reps for every single time. You have perfect reps, you need less reps. So trying to kind of play the long game right now and really make sure that I'm recovering and feeling good and not trying to hammer in the screw during the warm-ups and try to do things that don't quite feel good just yet. So adding in the pendulum squats, adding in some other hamstring exercises and stuff like that, pre and intra squat have been really helpful. If you have issues or feel like you take a long time to warm up for squats, it could be pretty helpful for you to really just focus on some lighter load, really excessive knee flexions, exercises like the pendulum squat, or even incorporate some, backwards walks on the treadmill, leg extensions, other exercises like that, the front foot elevated split squat, which I've shown in other videos, just to get the knees used to bending excessively. And it's really helpful to think about bending the knees more than you would in a traditional squat exercise. So I felt like dropping a little bit more knowledge. So again, hopefully everything has been pretty helpful. You can take one good thing from these workouts, these training videos, things like that. I'm more than happy, love to be able to share more recommendations, questions, drop them in the comments. Other than that, appreciate your time, appreciate you watching. Like, comment, share, do whatever you can. I mean, it helps me out a lot. Just trying to make the world a better place, trying to make the world a stronger place. So that's all I got for today. Bye.